A dog understanding who is running the show, who is leading the pack, who is acting, who is fulfilling the leadership roles. That there is going to pretty much secure that the pack will be fed and the pack will absolutely survive. So that was at the beginning of that initial, that offering, that exchange between the two species of, okay, I think that we can work together here. I think that we, with your abilities and gifts and with what we can bring to the table, this is a partnership that, like any partnership that we have, right? In any of our interpersonal partnerships, it's like, how long do they last? How healthy and vibrant are they if it's not mutually beneficial?
So when I got to talk to you, having that background with animals, I really could connect to the things you were sharing. But I thought I'd start off by just asking you, I understand this, but I think a lot of people may not. What is a dog shaman? I think you're the only one in the world that I know of.
Well, yeah, it's really about, first and foremost, being a canine behaviorist and understanding how dogs, their needs, their mental process, their just understanding them as a being, as a species, and also how they function within our relationships that they have with humans. And so going beyond that, for me, it's specializing in the optimization and the healing of the human to canine bond and connection, which over the time that we've spent with them, which is it's an ancient partnership. It's really old, right? And most everybody says, oh, I've grown up with dogs, or I've raised dogs, or I've bred dogs, or I've trained dogs, or that everybody has. Dogs have never been void of the human experience,
right?
And so when I look at where we started to where we are now, we're not evolving. We're
not again.
Again. Not again. Yeah. We're what we've done, and I'm sure we'll get into this conversation, in great length, in all the aspects of how this shows up. But, the way that we are relating to our dogs, the way that we set them up, the way that we feed them, the way that we nurture them, the way that we nourish them or lack thereof, the way that we're communicating with them, is really at, I would say, an all-time low. As far as how the reverence and the respect and the admiration and the value that we really need to be putting forth in relationship with these extraordinary animals who, quite honestly, if it wasn't for the presence of canines in the human experience, we would be very far devolved from where we are at this point. So, going back to the roots, going back to the beginning, this is, they were the original teachers. When we talk about the roles that canines served in man's experience and their life on Earth, they were the ones that taught us how to communicate and be intuitive and instinctual and raise a family and how to hunt and the best places to hunt, the best places to house a family and to kind of keep territory. The human was watching and observing the highly civilized communication systems that wolves displayed, and that then turned into more domesticated crossbred dogs were displaying. And we thought, wow, we really have a lot to learn here. There's a lot that we can model after and take that into our ways of being so that we can be successful. Because when it comes down to it, dogs are focused on one thing and one thing only, and that's survival. When you're surviving, you're successful. And if And if you're not in that state of thriving, if you're not in that state of keeping the pack alive, which means that you're successful, well, there's not much gray area there.
Yeah.
You die.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that for humans, that was something in that time, in evolution, and at that stage of where that relationship was at, it was humans recognized that it was very black and white. It was live or die, thrive and survive, or there's breakdown and chaos, and then the family unit or the life or the pack disassembles and dies off.
I think, just in my own mind, looking back on my own thoughts of dogs, I know for sure they would have helped us many times when we were lost and didn't know how to get back to where we were trying to get to. I know they've protected us millions and millions of times. And I know today, well, they also helped us find food because they're hunting animals. But I know today there would be a lot higher suicide rates if people didn't have dogs in their life.
Correct.
So can you share how it is that you grew into being a dog shaman and having this deep connection and understanding of dogs and animals?
Yeah. I know that I was born to do the work that I do. It was something that was just innate in me from a very small child. It's definitely in my lineage. It's being very closely connected to my Native American ancestry, which, was very tied to animals, spirit animals, being very psychically, intuitively connected to them. That was something that was passed down to me from my father. And it was, thankfully, even though I grew up in downtown Chicago, I was exposed to animals. I got to have those incredible connected relationships with them from the time I was, laying on the changing table where my dog was sitting up there with me, and and being able to be connected to horses from a very young age. I've been, riding and experiencing life with them since I was 5 years old.
That's
and
great.
Being an inner city kid, that's kind of a rare,
It is
a rare situation. But I was very blessed that my family created that experience for me. And so just always, even from a very young age, just always knowing that I just had a knowing. There was just something, an inherent, I felt like I could understand what they were thinking and what they were feeling and where they were at and what they were communicating. And so much, I guess, differently than
most people.
Yeah, or even just how I would understand a human. So it was very much on that level. And then, as it was very apparent into my teenage years that whatever path I was kind of whatever fork in the road I was going to go on, whether it was going to fine arts school, or, instead, no, I'm going to study wolves, so, and it's just every kind of choice that I've had on my path of where I was going, it was always geared towards the study and understanding and the development of my methodology, of not only creating the best, most extraordinary, wildly vibrant, healthy existence for dogs, but bridging the gap between the human and canine relationship. So it's not only about enhancing the dog's life, you have to enhance the human's life in order to get to the dog. And that was something that was very apparent to me in my teenage years, where, everybody is seeing my, the way that I was with their dogs, and people were just coming out of the woodwork, oh, my dog is very troubled. My dog has this, send him to Sasha, get him. But it didn't matter so much what I could do with the dog. It wasn't so much about what what I was going to change and transform in the dog's life or within their behavior. Because as soon as the dog would go back to the human, lo and behold, the same challenging behaviors would reappear, right? Because the communication was not in its ideal format.
Right.
It wasn't, there was a breakdown, there was a barrier. And so, the development of my methodology it was clear that it had to be first and foremost focused on educating the human, and not just to train your dog. This has nothing to do with dog training.
Yeah, a lot of people try to train their dogs because I honestly don't think most people have another concept to work with. It's, I think the relationship that humans have with their dogs is more like they have with machines. It's like, I've got to reprogram my computer so it behaves for me, or it's not doing what I want it to do. So it's like a machine that's broken. So I got to take it to Sasha, the mechanic, and she'll fix my dog. And I think we'll get into more of that. But I'm curious, most people have heard the saying that dogs are man's best friend, which I think we all intuitively know. But I'm curious, can you give us a little background in the history of the relationship between man and dog and how that developed?
Sure. So, again, going back to the basics, right? Going back to the beginning, it was a very mutually beneficial connection. And that was clear for both species, right?
What were we doing for them? I'd be interested to know.
So it was once we were able to model after the behavior and the fine hunting skills of a wolf, right? Then based off of our tools and the ways that we were able to show up and bring down a kill maybe much quicker, that provided a more of a resource for our dogs, for the wolves, that they realize that, okay, maybe we can help each other out here, and you might be able to alert me of a perceived danger because your sensory systems, whether it's your hearing or your olfactory abilities, surpass humans by light years.
Yeah.
And that was something else that humans realized. If we make friends with this noble beast, then they can be our greatest allies. They can show up as the protector. They can be the alarm bell when there's imminent danger. And we can get them on our team if we can provide a more constant, dependable source of food, which, I always say for dogs, food is number 2. Because without ideal hierarchy and a ideal system of the alpha understanding within a pack dynamic, the pack is not able to access and source and bring down food in its ideal way. So when people say, food's most important to a dog, no, hierarchy is. A dog understanding who is running the show, who is leading the pack, who is acting, who is fulfilling the leadership roles. That there is going to pretty much secure that the pack will be fed and the pack will absolutely survive. So that was at the beginning of that initial, that offering, that exchange between the two species of, okay, I think that we can work together here. I think that we, with your abilities and gifts and with what we can bring to the table, this is a partnership that, like any partnership that we have, right? In any of our interpersonal partnerships, it's like, how long do they last? How healthy and vibrant are they if it's not mutually beneficial?